Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome to episode 83 of Shrigleytube TV. If you're new to the channel, then welcome. And if you're returning, great. Thanks very much for returning. I really appreciate your attendance. Not a great deal going on this week at work. Been busy with engine blocks, which obviously I've gone over before in the past. So I've just been plugging away. But all my 8 blocks are finished now, so that's been great. And we finished Adrian's engine. That was also good. And just various bits and pieces. I hope you enjoy what you see anyway. We've got a little treat right at the very end of this video, which is some in-car footage from Adrian Oliver, which he kindly allowed me to put on the Shrigleytube. In-car brands Hatch Indy, brilliant. Anyway, hope you're all good, and I'll look forward to seeing those of you that can make it Race Retro weekend of the 21st of Feb. So, Brill, I'll let you get on with the video, and I'll see you all next Sunday at 7. Bye for now. Good morning, YouTubers. It's Monday morning. Thought I'd start the video off by saying hello, and I'm really hoping for a good production week this week. Get lots of work done, get lots of jobs in the out tray, and then maybe we can have some time to look at my own little projects and see where we get to. So I'll turn the camera around. I'll say hello, show you where we're. So Adrian, if you remember, he's just had a new engine, and his old engine, which used to be an original Bevan 998, which I'd converted to 1040, it had the liner fail, and I'll insert a picture right now. So you can see that the liner, although it had dropped and failed, it hadn't took the block at all. So Adrian said, "Oh, if you've got a spare liner, a second-hand one, could you pop it in for me and bore it to 74mm, and I'll just make a road-going 1040 out of it." So Adrian, much like myself, he doesn't like waste. So I thought, that's a good idea. Yeah, we can probably do that for you. So I glued a liner in, came in last night, late on Sunday night, and just did a couple of hours, because he also gave me this block as well. Now, this one is a typical old-school 998, and it was worn. And he said, could you rebore it? And he sent me some pistons to just some second-hand 1040s. They looked okay, to be fair. It's just not for racing, just for a roadie. So I said, yeah, no worries, we'll do that for you. But because the engine's been stood around for so long, dry, what we'll do is we'll push the liners out and reseat them with some fresh glue, so we know when it's bored and you build it, it'll be right. So that's what I've done there. So we'll take the clamps off these now. A nice little job to start the week with. We'll bore them and then get them on the miller and deck them, because obviously you can see that the liner height is different there. So that'll be a good job to start, because I always say, if you start the week off correctly, like if you start the day off correctly, you know, what you achieve between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning sets you up for the rest of the day. If you don't get to work till 9:30, 10 o'clock and then have a sausage butty and a cup of tea, it's just, you're always playing catch up. So yeah, well, hopefully this will be a good start to the week and a good start to the morning. So I'm really sorry to say this and select reverse gear another time, but unfortunately the Granada's going to have to go to the scrapyard in the Sky. I did want to repair it, but it was just rotten as a pear, you know, all the chassis gone at the back. The giveaway was the tow bar was waving around in the air. Oh, thank you, Jack. And I knew at that point that it was going to require a lot more than just a set of sills to fix it.
What's happened, Andy? Is it off the restoration?
No, Bergerac. Something else has happened in my life.
Oh no!
I've had a bit of a realisation check.
Oh, you've been to the therapist then?
Yeah, the therapist said you've got to stop by being honest with yourself and stop trying to fix everything. So, yeah,
It's easier just to abandon everything, isn't it?
Yeah, everything's going to the scrapyard now. Yeah. Jack's very kindly. Our kid came in and stripped it, so we've got some bits to sell. Hopefully we'll recoup some of the money we laid out for it. But yeah,
no good. That
is life. Life is such, just, you got to look at it as I've put the value of every other Mark III Granada Scorpio.
Kind to anyone that's fucking paying.
Oh my God. My God, the police are at the door. Whoa, calm down, mate. You'll wear my batteries out of my new doorbell.
I've come for some sponsorship money.
Gracious me, what is going on here?
Look at the back of them there, I've got your name on it.
Oh my God, how much is that going to cost me?
It's not cheap, I'll be honest. It's not cheap.
Mate, you look the absolute bee's knees, mate. Look at you. Are they proper overalls?
Good ones.
What, fireproof and everything?
Fireproof, whatever that says there.
I know. Fire retard.
Yeah, and I can just unzip.
Oh,
Look at that there.
Listen, mate, you need to
I've come wanting
something.
money and a lot.
I'm having it hard at the moment.
You and me both.
Got a VAT bill to pay for the 7th, and you know, things have been a bit tight. But yeah,
Good job it's not the 7th.
mate, you look the bee's knees there.
Well done,
When they're getting you know, debuted?
Sunday.
Where at?
Aldershot.
Aldershot. Which car? Oh, is this World Final car?
Yeah, in the World Final car.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I'll wander down and come and have a look at you sat in the car. You look the bees though,
Yeah,
there,
no,
mate.
I won't be wearing these for much longer. Just put them on to extract some money off you.
Right, mate. You just caught me at a bad time.
Oh, right. Well, always is a bad time when it's when I want money, innit?
Right, okay, mate. Well, thanks for knocking on the door and wearing my doorbell out. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Okay, chaps, nothing exciting to report so far this week. It's Tuesday afternoon. I've been busy machining my blocks, trying to get them all done. So it's been a bit monotonous, to be honest with you. I have finished stripping the engine that I stripped on Saturday, and you guys probably saw it on Sunday night. That was the Mike Loveland engine. So it was a 1040 with a nice Farndon steel crank. And the ones of you that pay really good attention to what comes out of my mouth will remember me saying that the owner Mike had complained of it leaking oil, and I had gone down to his house and changed this rear seal. Obviously this is a rear seal conversion that Maynard does, and when I've been inspecting it, I've been looking at the cap for cracks and all sorts. I've noticed that there's a build-up on the seal diameter. Can you see the shiny bit where the seal has been running, which is just there, just the outside of it? There's like a build-up of cack. I don't know quite how to describe it. What that is it's where the seal has burnt, because if you can imagine, it's a dyno problem, this. See how close that diameter is there? So we're relying on oil splashing down that, I think it's about 20 thou clearance, to get to the seal to lubricate it. So it's only got what it has when I built it. So the first seal must have burnt on a dyno. Mike's put it in his car, done a test, and it started to leak oil. I've gone down to Mike's, put a new seal in, but I didn't inspect. Obviously you can't see much when this is all in the engine. I didn't inspect it properly, because if I'd have seen that, I bet if I get a blade, I bet it just peels off. If I'd seen that and removed it, I bet we wouldn't have been having an oil leak yet. It's just like burnt oil or burnt seal. How frustrating. Oh, you know what it is? I know what it is. It's Loctite. Drats. That's what it is. It's Loctite, that. When we put the flywheel bolts in, after I've finished on a dyno, some Loctite has oozed out and it's got on the seal, and then it's disturbed it, and that's what's caused the problem, because it would never have left here leaking oil, that is for sure. But obviously it would have had a dyno flywheel on, so I put his flywheel on, his clutch, Loctited it, but a penny has dropped. Right, well, I've got an idea of what's gone wrong now. Right, I'll make sure we don't put too much Loctite on in future. Morning, YouTubers. It's Wednesday morning. We've had a bit of a squeeze on Adrian's engine last night. It was quite good. I was impressed with it. We ended up putting a bit more fuel in, going up a jet size, so that was nice to see a little bit more power appear. And I didn't finish it because I thought we'll get some fresh fuel. So I got some fresh fuel this morning. It does go off a bit, you know, so it'd been hanging around a few weeks. So I got some fresh fuel and run it up this morning, and we're ready to do a proper a final dyno block. It's quite a good air pressure day. It's 1,038 millibar, which is it should mean we should see some good numbers out of this today. So quite excited to run it. I just what I was going to do, I was going to disconnect the exhaust pipe so that we can just run as the engine would run in the race car. And I was going to put the airbox on. This is Adrian's airbox that he's very skillfully made to get like a cold air feed to it. And I just saw something and I thought, I'd completely overlooked this. Now, it's pretty much immaterial because what's done is done. But what I've noticed is he sealed the airbox on with what I could only describe as bathroom sealer, and it's falling off. Now, obviously, it's done the same this end, but it's fell off at this end, and I started to question whether that could potentially have gone in the engine and caused the damage that we saw to number 4 cylinder, for those of you that would have watched the earlier video with the autopsy. So I've got the bits in here. Have a quick look at them. I've just been going through it. I should just let it lie. What's done is done. So I've put a liner in his block, so I provided him with a second-hand piston. That's by the by. So there's his first 3 pistons. Number 4 looks like this, and I was trying to work out in my head, that's the liner and that's the orientation it would have sat in, like that. And I'm looking at the way the liner's burst. But it's basically got a big crack in it here, where what's happened is, as the pistons come to top dead center, I think what's happened is potentially a bit of silicon has gone in the cylinder, and obviously we've got a squish area here. As it's come to the top, it's tried to compress the silicon. I mean, this is all just totally imaginary in Andy's head. We don't know this is what's happened. I'm just trying to look at different ideas. It's tipped the piston, because obviously it pivots on the wrist pin, and it's burst the liner, which has then caused the piston to basically go back down again, half sideways, and it's pulled it to a million pieces. And another thing is, the biggest piece that's broke off is on this back side, and it's not got any other damage on it. So normally when things have gone up and down a few times, they get smashed to bits, but it's like in perfect condition, no pickup or anything. That has just been purely snapped off clean. Can you see where the oil holes are there? I think indicating that something potentially has landed on this side of the cylinder and caused it to tip. But I mean, like I say, it doesn't really matter, but just always good to try and fully understand what's gone wrong in an engine when it goes wrong. Anyway, he's on a dry liner block now, so his liner is an iron liner sat inside an aluminium sleeve, so it can't ever do this again, because iron, it's very, very brittle. You know, as soon as it sees any major load, it just fails. But because we've got like a laminated effect now, where we've got an iron liner sat inside an aluminium parent liner, it won't ever do that. It'll be far, far stronger. Anyway, we'll get on with running it and see if we can get some good numbers out of it. I'm pretty confident it's going to be a good one, this. Okay, YouTubers, we're on and running with Mr. Sir Adrian at Oliver's engine. Looks like it's going to be quite good, this. I'm never too concerned with Adrian because he can pedal, but it's always nice to know that he's got the best chance. And obviously I don't want him going too fast in case I get a chance to be out there this year. I don't want him beating me, that would be disastrous. Anyway, I've set him up now so the engine thinks he's in the car. He's got a normal length exhaust. The exhaust gases are firing that way out the door, and then we have got a scavenge fan just above the door, so hopefully nothing will get mixed with the air intake. That snorkel in the corner you can see going up the hill there, that goes to the roof, and then I've pointed the air inlet pipe at it, so it's got cold fresh air, because Adrian does run like a fresh air system. So we'll load him up, we'll put a bit of load on down below. We'll see it's like at 4.5. So respectable-ish, that 68 foot-pound at 4, and it's not rich. I have actually gone up a jet size from what the engine came to me on, and not interesting, to be expected really. This engine runs more advanced than normal. It's not a high compression engine, it's 11.9 I think to 1 when I worked it out. So obviously consequently the burn speed's a little bit slower, so it's not what I call an ignition sensitive engine. It's quite relaxed with what you give it. If it doesn't have enough advance, it does no power, and when it gets the advance, it does the power. But then if you give it a bit more advance, it carries on doing the power but no gains, but it doesn't start to pink or rattle. I've got 35 degrees in there max, which is quite a lot for an imp, but it's that old trade-off where if you've got the burn speed from the compression ratio, if you've got them in the high 12s or 13 to 1, then they're really quite sensitive. You know, if you give them too much advance, they pull a right face. But with this, it's what we'll call a friendly advance engine, so I'm really confident that it's quite safe. So if he wants to mess around with his jets and stuff like he did last year, he's not likely to cause any harm. He'll just lose power. Anyway, providing of course it's not too hot and he's not got some duff fuel as well. It'll all go wrong if he gets them all wrong at the same time. But let's oh, it's all gone wrong. Let's see what happens when it comes on the camera. It should come on at 4.5, 5. Hopefully it'll hang on. Picks up really well. Let's try and get it at 5,000. That's 6. It's got nearly 89 foot-pound at 6, which is handy because that's his race number, 89. I'll put a bit more load on. We'll try and get a 5,000 figure. At 4.5 there, it's doing about 68, 70 foot-pound. Try and leave it flat out. I think it's a smidge rich there. Come on, let go. Dyno's not letting go. Come on, Mr. Dyno. It'll suddenly go, when it gets to 5, it just goes alive and you can't get the water back on fast enough. At 5 there, just pulls straight through to 6. That's 6.5, it's holding about 86 foot-pound. 7, 7.5. 8,000, still holding 78. 8.5, still holding 73. 8.7. Right, well, it appears to be quite happy and holding on quite well. I think I saw, did I say 73 foot-pound at 8,000? 73 multiplied by 1, 2, 3 equals that divided by 5252. 111 horsepower. It is a good air day, so we'll probably say I'd say it's a good 105, 108 horsepower this, which will be perfect, and it works really well from 5. So when he's at Cadwell Park coming out of the twisty bits, he should be right on it. I've got a good feeling for Adrian this year. I really hope he does well because he works hard at the job to keep it up there, and I think he deserves a championship victory at some point. Anyway, they all do. Right, I'll stop waffling and we'll get on with the next job. Good morning, YouTubers. It's Thursday morning and I thought we'd have a little chat about liners, and this is one of my new 930 blocks with the dry top hat liners in, and this is an original old school 998 wet liner block. So while we've got them in the same camera view, I'll just sort of point a few differences out. This is obviously the late 930 block. It has a little bracket here, whereas the Int one doesn't. Also, this one's got a dynamo bracket, whereas this one doesn't. But we do have 3/8 UNC mounting bolts there, which would have been for a side mount, because obviously in the Talbot Sunbeam this engine just stood upright in the front of the car. So obviously you can see I've re-drilled the starter motor holes because they're in a slightly different position to the Imp ones. And this is one that's got the rear oil seal in it, whereas this one is on a scroll. So quite a few differences on the block. Obviously I've converted this is one of the 8 that I've just done, so you can see the flange there. This is sat on a top hat liner, and this one is an original what we call a wet liner job. So we say it's a wet liner because the liner is actually in contact with the water in the cooling jacket, whereas on the my modern ones now, the liner, it's just like a flange liner, so only the top 10 millimeters is in contact with the coolant. The rest of it is inside the parent liner, which is the original liner from the block. It's basically this piece but extended all the way to here. So a lot more of the original block left in the modern way of doing it. Now, this engine, you can see bits of blue paint, and the keen YouTubers amongst you may remember when I first started doing the videos, I can't remember what episode number it was, but it was December 23. I did a one-off 3-part episode at Christmas, ending with an interview with Mrs. Carter, where I got this Ian Carter engine and I ran it on the dyno, and we put some pistons in it just to get a tune out of it, because the pistons were all, it wouldn't go round, if you remember. I put it on the dyno, I went to turn it over, and part of the piston had broke up and was catching the head, so I ended up taking it apart, putting a set of second-hand pistons in it. We ran it on the dyno, got a tune out of it, and then from there onwards, I actually sold the engine to a chap in America. So this, Gerald, this is your engine, in case you are watching the video. So there's little remnants of blue paint. This was a proper Ian Carter Super Clubman 998, so it was done from a brand new block. So that is where the engine number normally lives on an imp, but it hasn't got one. In fact, it may be a late one as well. What's the year stamp? Oh, 76, 976. So this is actually the last year of production of the imp, so probably one of the brand new old stock engines that Ian Carter will have built his race engines from. So lovely, nice little engine this. Anyway, it's a War 998, so we're going to bore it to 73 mil, but it was covered in blue paint and it was all khaki in here, so I've just cleaned it all up. I've blasted it, I've cleaned up all the indexes where the liner sits, and I was going to talk for a second about why I take the liners out, because we have been through this before, but this index here sits with a Loctite retainer, you know, like 645, is it? 648, sorry, the green stuff, a high strength retainer. So they're sitting a Loctite, but what happens is there's nothing on this part. So where the liners sit together in the block, we get corrosion, and you can't believe how strong corrosion is. You know, when rust expands in between two metal surfaces, I've seen it where it starts to tip the liner. But actually what you get to see is, if you put a bore mic down it, you can see that it started to push the cylinder out of round, because, you know, although that's an iron liner, if I squeezed or leant on that when it was, you know, or just gently pinched it in a vise, you'd be able to push it a thou or two, no problem. So when they get corrosion build up on there, it starts to push them over. So what we do is, when we put them back in again now, we'll glue all this area, so that when it sits down, and that's against there, the water can't get in, and just in case it runs without antifreeze for any reason at any point, so we can't end up with that situation occurring again. Now, another point that I'm not dead keen on with the old wet liner job is, can you see the undercut at the top of the liner there? So I do these with an enormous radius on the inside edge of the top hat liner, because it's a stress point, and that's quite a sharp corner. And if you remember earlier in the video, we were looking at Adrian's engine where the liner had burst with the piston tipping at top dead center. The place where it failed was right in that corner. It's like a stress razor. Anywhere we get a sharp corner. So the job that's like this, as you can see, these are in with a clearance. So the glue takes up the clearance a Loctite. And I'll just put it down. So that's at room temperature, yeah? But we know that this aluminium has a really high coefficient of expansion. It's like 3 thou per inch per 100 degrees. So 0 to 100 degrees, you know, we get a lot of growth. So if you're running the car at 90 degrees on track, this liner will be loose. There's no doubt about it. But obviously it's got the glue there, but it's held in with the wheel string on top. But what we tend to find with them, if they're just an 11:1 compression ratio plodder with an R20 cam, they last indefinitely. But if you try and race one with a wet liner in, what happens is they start to shuffle, because obviously the bottom index isn't tight on it, because, sorry, I've missed a major point here. The iron has a very low expansion factor, so the aluminium index grows, that liner doesn't grow at the same rate, so we get a bit of shuffle. And what happens is, when you take the head off, you can see the wheel string. It starts to fret where it's flapping around. Someone's just come to the door, so I'm going to have to come sorry about that. Just had a friend of mine dropping something off at the door, which is now in the lathe. We'll talk about that in a minute. A dual mass flywheel, wonderful. Anyway, right, so this is a wet liner block, that's a dry liner. These shuffle when they get hot. What you've got to imagine is, we're talking about that coefficient of expansion being high with the aluminium. The head is bolted on around the outside of the block there. The liner is iron. So when the engine gets hot, the head goes this way with the outside of the block, and we've got like 2.5 inches of expansion there, a difference in expansion, as in the iron won't grow as much as the aluminium. So what happens is the liner effectively becomes low in the block, and that is why the liners start to shuffle. And then once they start to bleed air off, or we should say combustion chamber gases, you'll often see on a race engine a bleed on the thermostat housing that goes back to the header tank. And that was because the people that did all this back in the day, they understood that, you know, sometimes the wheel strings would bleed a bit of combustion chamber pressure off, and it had to be able to escape, because a lot of the cars had a front radiator. So from here, the pipe would go downhill to the floor, all the way to the front of the car, to the radiator. So they bled the air off that got pushed into the cooling system. Now, what I was going to say was, obviously, using a Wills ring is the best way of sealing these wet liners, because it's like a preload. So when you clamp the head down and it disfigures that Wills ring, that 20 thou pinch we talked about on the Wills rings the other day, that is what deforms and then keeps a constant load holding the liner hard against the seat at the bottom there. It's only when they get hot that they start to shuffle, hence why we used to always try and run them as cool as possible. Now, a Wills ring, because of its design, it doesn't fail like a gasket does, where you've got like a little fire ring with card inside it or whatever, and the gasket just blows apart. The Wills ring will bleed air off, but not actually fail, and it will continue to work and do its job. Funny things, they're not. A Wills ring is, you know, it's a very specialist piece of equipment, and it's designed to deal with, I think, if I'm right in saying, it's to do with like your gas lines and stuff. It's an industrial application that's been made to fit a Hillman imp. Anyway, the reason we do what we do here with this is, A, because we've got so much more of the original blocking position, the liner can't shuffle. And then we end up with like a laminated effect where, because the liner is encased entirely in goo through its entire length, apart from that little flange at the top, you end up with a much stronger liner that won't burst in a situation where it gets stressed. It's almost got some, not flex to it, but it's got support. The iron's got support, so it's not like to burst like we saw on Adrian's engine. And also, the most important factor is the fact that the liner is only got that last 10 millimeters there of a different expansion rate. So as the block grows and all the rest of it, we don't see any issues at all with the Wills rings starting to shuffle or bleed, because obviously the whole lot grows together. So if we got these two blocks red hot or up to 100 degrees and put a straight edge over it, we'd see this liner would be down maybe 3-4 thou. This one would still be level with the top of the block. Now, obviously, what people might be thinking is, well, there's loads of wet liner engines from the 80s that all work successfully. Loads of the Alphas were a wet liner like this, and more modern times, things like a Peugeot 1.9 and 1.6 GTI, they were all iron linered engines that were wet liners that sat on an index like this, even to a point the K-Series engine, you know. But the difference is, all those engines had the head bolt. It ran through here, and the thread, apart from the K-Series where the thread was right in the mains, all the Peugeots, the thread is at the bottom where the mains area is. So when you torque the head down, it's pulling from the bottom of the liner area, so it always keeps that pinch on the gasket face, or the fire ring, should we say. Whereas on the imp, because it's threaded in the top here, the head is attached to this bit only. The liner where it sits is attached to down there, so we have that difference in expansion. Anyway, we won't get massively over involved in the conversation about it, but that is the difference between your wet liner and your dry liner block. And what I was also going to say before I leave you in peace is the very, very first 998 imps that were done with a curly edge block for the factory, which was like what they call like a dry liner conversion. They had a liner that sat inside just like this basically, but I think they had lots of issues with them cracking around the top, and then what would happen was that the lower half of the liner would start to sink down, and I don't know the exact reason for that, but I suspect they probably has a similar design to the liner like this, where they've got an undercut and a sharp radius, whereas nowadays we've got really good modern glue, which is really good at transferring the heat into the parent liner, and also we understand the importance of the radius in the shoulder so that we don't create that stress razor. So them problems have gone away, thankfully. Anyway, there you go. That's a bit of an insight into the wet liner and dry liner engine. Okay, YouTubers, my mate Jeff has... I did this engine for him probably about a year ago, and he's just dropped it off and said, I've sold it, but it's been hanging around a bit. Would you do me a favour and just run it up on the dyno and make sure it's fit? So I've run it up and it runs lovely. It's all as it was, so, and it does good torque as well. So we've, we're going to out tray it now, and he's going to come and collect it. He won't want to be interviewed, so he won't bother going down that road. Have someone in the workshop here who has come to collect their engine. Aha! Mr. Oliver. So he's 1040 with his new bottom end is all ready for him to take and go and do well, and he's got his elephant with him here. This is his fresh air system. Look at this. He doesn't mess about, and that fits right inside the back boot lid, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nice fresh air system there, Adrian. So what I thought I'd do, Adrian, was, I hope you don't mind, obviously, a lot of Hillman people watch the Shrigley show on Sunday night, so I thought I'm gonna ask you some questions. Is that all right? About your racing history. So what year did you first start racing an imp?
92, my first race at Mallory.
Oh yeah, we discussed that, didn't we? At the on the last week's video, because I put a bit of Mallory Park on last week's video. If you saw it, yeah, 92. Wow, that's a long time ago, mate. Now, I was 15 then. I first met you in Alton Park paddock, and you had a brand new Renault towing car. I think it was T-Reg, so that'd be 99. Remember that Renault? Yeah. And you had your red imp then, not the maroon one. But yeah, that was my first introduction to seeing the imps race around Alton Park, and I was really excited. I think you were in Yokohama tyres back then.
In 008Rs back in those days.
In HSCC, yeah. So, out of your career as a Hillman racer, what is like the most memorable race that you've raced and had a result and absolutely been chuffed to bits with?
Oh, that's really difficult, I think.
So many.
I think, well...
You did quite well on the podium. Was it Alton Park once?
Yeah, I think I was third and on the podium there. And then Brands in the wet was probably one I did, because wet races are my favourite. And
I think I remember this. That was that on YouTube as well, in car? It was absolutely chucking it down. You had the 1150.
Yeah, and my car was just pointing everywhere but where it wanted to go. And that was good. Good old scrap with Steve in the second race. But the first race, that was
really good. Is that still on YouTube?
I think it might be.
I'll have to have a look for that.
I'll have to have a gander and
see.
But
if I can tag it onto here, I will do, because I remember that race now. It was in car, wasn't it? You had the 1150 with the steel crank in it.
Yeah.
And it was HSCC days. I bet it was a good 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, it must be. And that
Crikey, time.
Binned it off on trying to pass the Lotus Cortina, and I thought, oh, it's the end of that, across the grass, and everyone's going by, and then gradually pulled it all back.
Wow. How did you find COVID when you couldn't race? Did you find other things to do with your time, or?
That was all right. I was doing extension at home, so I just flat out learning to be Bob the Builder.
Bob the Builder. Oh, brilliant.
So, unfortunately, I got all the materials before lockdown, so...
Oh, did you really?
That was it.
So you just
doing
cracked
that.
on.
Otherwise, I'd have been in the garage.
Yeah. Wow. Or on YouTube like everybody else. But yeah, we missed the boat with YouTube because during YouTube, a lot of during COVID, a lot of channels grew massively because people didn't have anything to do. They were off work and
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, so fair play, mate. You turn your hand to anything. Bob the Builder engine. We'll call you. We built plenty of engines, haven't you? That 998 you had at Mallory was a good money, yeah? So.
Yeah, well, that's it. My first 3 championships are all on my own DIY
Really?
engines.
You've won
so
3 championships? Wow.
3 on the trot, yeah.
3 on the trot? What year was that?
Oh, I'm trying to remember now. I think it was 2001, 2 and 3.
Really?
I'm trying to remember.
God, no wonder they hated the imps. Oh, Peter and that. Oh, wow. Oh, good for you. So, and then you've won one since, haven't you?
Yes. What year that is, I cannot remember off the top of my head.
The preparation of this interview is absolutely awful, mate. Well, thanks for talking to me anyway, and yeah, I'm sure people will be interested to hear about your racing history. You've never raced anything else, have you?
No, I did motocross before cars, and that was it. I've sort of looked at other stuff to race. I did buy an XR2 at one point, and then
did you really?
Ended up being a road car.
Right,
but
right.
I was thinking about doing it, but it's just getting the time to do it. And the nice thing with these old engines is I know them inside out. And
yeah, and you've got plenty of spares, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know what, Adrian? The question that we really want to know is when are you going to draft Dax, your son, into the job? When's he going to get out there?
Yeah, good question. Well, he's got I had a spare body shell, so I'm building that up at the moment for him as his first car. So just trying to get it insured will be the tricky bit.
Yeah,
We'll see how it goes. I want him to, when he starts to learn to drive in a few months, I want to get him out and do a few track days just so he can learn car control and what's
so, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
And then see how he goes with that. If he enjoys it, then
I think he's got the right blood.
Kick me out to sleep then.
Yeah, he's got the right genes, and well, you build another car, Adrian. 2 cars. Come on.
That'd be a saga. I had to get a double-decker trailer.
Yeah, well, you could get a van like me, and you could put one in the back and then one on the trailer. I'm sure Pauline would love that. Brill. Well, thanks for talking to us, Adrian, and I'll try and find that footage and tag it on now.
Cheers.
Congratulations, you have made it nearly to the end of Shrigleytube TV. We just got the best bit we saved to the end, which is Adrian at Brands Hatch Indy about 8 years ago with his 1150cc imp. Fantastic drive, Adrian. There was no grip out there at all, bearing in mind these guys are running around on their plastic historic cross-ply tyres. So great drive there, Adrian. Thanks for letting us put it on the tube, and I look forward to seeing you all next Sunday at 7. Bye for now. Enjoy. Okay, YouTubers, as part of the customer relations setup we've got at Shrigley Engineering, we come to Chapati Corner with Adrian. What have we got here, Adrian? Lamb karai, chicken curry, and their mince with rice. I've gone for the full race version, which is no rice. I've just got the 3 curries and some yogurt, and we've got a couple of chapatis. Really interesting, Adrian. It made me laugh in the text how when you said you'd be with me at 9 o'clock in the morning, and can we go to Chapati Corner?
It's got to be done.
Perfect. Enjoy. Clean plates all round, fantastic feed there at Chapati Corner. Right, just one last thing, we've got this in-car footage from Brands Hatch Indy, a real imp circuit, and it was really wet. This is a good few years ago, but Adrian demonstrating his skills in a Hillman there. Really good race right to the end, hope you enjoy it.